Let's cut through the chaos when it comes to the TSA, DHS funding bill, and the partial government shutdown. Together we need to be builders. I'm tired of everybody trying to burn everything down. What I'm going to be discussing today are the 6 amendments that were proposed by senators so that I can save you listening to biased news outlets out there that are just simply trying to project their own secret agenda. Let's be clear. The House actually proposed the funding bill, HR 7147, on January 22nd. They went on recess on January 23rd. The DHS funding bill includes TSA, FEMA, CISA, UCIS, the Coast Guard, the Secret Service. Now, that important bill was literally proposed one day before they went on recess. 9 days before the funding was supposed to run out, which was January 31st. We're going to suddenly have the funding run out in 9 days. Wouldn't you have been talking about this way before? Wouldn't you have been proposing it? Wouldn't you have been communicating about it literally weeks and months before? That's not what happened. So, what happened since then? Clearly the funding stopped. It actually ended on February 14th. So the actual First Amendment was proposed by Senator Padilla, which was Amendment 4927. I'll put that on the screen so that you can see it. That actual amendment, all it included was names and having unique badges displayed, as every other agency has. It also made sure to protect the agents in case that they were doing covert operations. Now, it also included was having no face coverings, unless again, that it was a covert operation or something that was not observable by the public. So the 2 main points on this one amendment that was proposed by Senator Padilla was having names, having badges, as well as having no face coverings. So unless it's a covert operation, unless they needed to be protected, there was obviously no reason for them to not to have their names as well as a unique identification number or badge number being displayed. So the Second Amendment was actually proposed by a few senators. I'm going to also put this on the screen so you can see. It was actually titled Amendment 4298. It included Senator Padilla, Senator Bennett, Senator Welsh, Senator Blumenthal, Senator Schatz, as well as Senator Cortez Masto. All it included was restrictions when it comes to the elections, and it would stop them from potentially claiming national emergency and having different agencies show up during our elections. The amendment actually breaks down a few examples. They are the intimidation of interference within an election, preventing the imposition or attempted imposition within an election, preventing them to actually be present at polling places, as well as election offices, as well as where we will be doing the counting and also be certifying the election. To me, that is not a place where any agency, either it being ICE, FEMA, Coast Guard, CISA, any of those different agencies need to be present. The Third Amendment was actually proposed by 2 senators, Senators Padilla and Senator Blumenthal. That amendment was titled 4299. This amendment simply made it to where if ICE did anything bad, they would actually be held liable. In the actual text, what it says is that it includes them waiving sovereign immunity, as well as actually talking about regarding the employer being held liable because of the officer's actions that he does when he's performing his duties. For example, executing searches, seizing evidence, or making arrests. The Fourth Amendment was actually proposed by Senator Warnock of Georgia. That amendment is titled 4300. Now, that amendment, all it did was basically limit the ICE being able to create additional facilities in 2 areas, Oakwood, Georgia, and Social Circle, Georgia. To me, it was actually pretty simple, if that's what Georgia wants. Now, the 5th actual amendment is pretty interesting because that was actually proposed by Senator Collins of Maine. That amendment was actually titled 4775. All this amendment was a way to decrease the additional funding that is being included in this bill specifically for ICE. Currently, the funding is $17 trillion is what they are saying that ICE needs, additional to what was already put aside for them. This amendment, all what she actually proposed was decreasing that by $5 trillion, basically having the new rate as $12 trillion. That was what the 5th Amendment was including. The 6th and final amendment was actually proposed by Senator Schmidt of Missouri. That amendment is actually titled Amendment 4789. The interesting thing about this amendment is that A, it's not separate the amendment is actually written as an add-on to Senator Collins' amendment regarding the budget. Now, what Senator Schmidt proposed in his amendment, it's repealing the Senate notification clause inserted in November during the first actual government shutdown. Now, if you want to look that up, it's called Public Law 119-37 or HR 5371. The text written in that CR simply says that for every instance, senators that have been investigated unknowingly will be paid out a $500,000 payout every single time. That goes as far back as January 1st of 2022. We all know the senators that are basically being investigated. That's not a secret. Let's just quickly summarize it. The First Amendment is basically saying that ICE needs to have a name as well as the badges displayed, as well as having no face coverings. Now, the Second Amendment is restricting them from being at polling places. The Third Amendment is simply saying that they're going to be held liable if they do something that could potentially put them at risk. The Fourth Amendment is basically saying that you are not going to be able to expand into 2 areas in Georgia. The Fifth Amendment is decreasing the funds, and the Sixth Amendment is regarding the whole $500,000 payout that is only going to specific senators that were investigated unknowingly since January 1st of 2022. Those are all the actual amendments that were proposed. Those amendments actually were proposed in February 12th. So since February 12th, everybody on the left and the right all know all the 6 points that the Democrats want. If we can meet at least halfway and actually have the conversations, but instead it always has to be a big fight. Instead it's either my way or the highway. To me, that's not the way to run the government. We need to actually build the country. We don't need to continue to tear it down. We need to go back to where it's actually country first, not all of this chaos. They already know what the Democrats want, and we already know what the Republicans want. Let's meet halfway so that we can actually open the government correctly, in the correct process. Because don't get me wrong, I do love the fact that TSA is finally getting paid, but at the same time, that's just a band-aid. That doesn't actually fix the issue. So where are we today? After February 12th and the Democrats actually bringing these amendments up, nothing happened. So instead of actually continue those discussions, the House proposed a new bill that was actually called HR 744, which is almost an identical bill of the HR 7147 that was proposed 2 months earlier. That bill, of course, is not going to move forward in the Senate. So, now, Senator Thune, Republican Senator Thune, what he saw was, well, we already have their request. We already know what they want. How about this? Let's actually stop any additional funding, pass the bill, which is what happened. Senator Thune, on March 23rd, passed, under voice vote, actual HR 7147. It didn't include any of the amendments that the Democrats wanted. What it did include, though, was that no additional funding is going to go to ICE. Why? Because then at least everything will be able to get funded. What ended up happening, though, is that after the actual bill was passed at the Senate level, it went back to the House and ended up not coming to the floor. There was no vote, and ended up just basically stopping there. So rather than bringing that bill up to the floor at the House, passing it before the Easter recess, because right now they're actually on Easter recess. They don't come back until I think March or April 13th. So to me, if you're going to at least go on a 2-week vacation, it's already passed the Senate. All they have to do is bring it to the floor, vote on it, say yes, bring it back to the Senate, and have Trump sign. Instead, they propose a new bill called HR 8029, almost a nearly identical bill from the original one in January, which is HR 7147, which is the one that's technically passed and in the House. So now we have 2 bills that are nearly identical at the Senate and 1 bill that is fully passed at the House and the Senate. So this is where we are today. This is why I'm talking about we need to actually come together, build the country. So what I'm going to kind of show you right now so you can see it on the screen is the actual calendar. This is the calendar where we can see when the House is in recess and versus when the House is not and actually in session. So in yellow, what you see are the days in session, and in white are the days in recess. As you can see, they are on recess right now. Rather than bringing this bill up, rather than having conversations, they're on vacation and in recess. So to me, this is where we are missing. We need to build the country. I can show you the information that other people and other allies who want to just point the finger and say, hey, left side, you're bad. Hey, right side, you're bad. That doesn't actually get anywhere, because at the end of the day, people's lives are actually being affected. So that's what my goal with this video. My goal with this video is to simplify the 6 amendments that the Democrats are proposing, to tell you clearly the actual scenario events that happen with the different bills, to clearly say to you, hey, the actual bill, HR 7147, passed and is at the House. I hope when the House actually comes back to session that the bill gets passed, so that then we can actually start the normal process of actually funding and opening up the government. Because right now, this is the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. If you want to learn more about the tariffs topic, feel free to watch my other video. If you want to join the Republic Builder community, feel free to join and follow. Because my goal is I want to cut through the noise. I want to cut through all the chaos. I believe country needs to be for chaos. And I believe together we need to build this from the ground up.